Florida International Football is located in a hotbed when it comes to recruiting football talent, being located between Miami-Dade and Broward counties, which had the most NFL players last year, yet the school has not had a player drafted since 2020. They have seen the likes of Cristobal and Butch lead the program, yet only have 4 winning seasons in program history. They are located in Miami, Florida, just had their stadium changed to Pitbull Stadium with the artist buying the naming rights, and have some of the best jerseys in college football. Yet the program has always struggled. It's wild to say this, but with Bordeaux doing a dynasty on FIU, I thought this would be the best time to look into why FIU has been terrible at football for so long. But before we get into this, if you enjoy college football content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know which school you want me to talk about in the future in the comment section below. Bordeaux is actually someone I share mutual friends with in the space, and I have a lot of respect for his work, and I would love to collaborate with him someday. Watching his long-term rebuild series last week sparked my curiosity into wondering why FIU football has never been able to find sustained success in their football history. They could not be in a better location. They have watched as rivals FAU have climbed the ranks to join the American a few years back, while they stay stuck in the Conference USA. Speaking of FAU, since 2002, FIU has only won the Shula Bowl 5 times, but had their 2005 win vacated, so they currently have a 4-17 record against the Owls, have lost their last 7 matchups. FIU football has had a short history, but it is a pretty cool one looking back at it. In 1997, then President Modesto A. Maidque appointed a task force to look into the feasibility of bringing FIU football to a reality. It would put together a major publicity stunt the following year, when the school flew a plane above the Orange Bowl during the Florida State vs. Miami football game on October 10th that pulled a banner that read FIU football, still undefeated. This would lead to alumni reaching out on how they could help make the football team a reality. As FIU alumni director at the time explained, we had a ton of calls from alumni excited about how they could help create the football program. The school continued to market everything by printing out shirts that held the same slogan as the plane banner and passed them around campus. In 1999, Don Stroke would be named the school's director of football operations. Stroke played quarterback for the Miami Dolphins from 1973 to 1987, mainly serving as Bob Grease and Dan Marino's backup. He also spent a season with both the Cleveland Browns and Indianapolis Colts. He would then get into coaching, serving as the head coach of the Miami Hooters and Massachusetts Marauders of the Arena Football League. He then spent a year serving as the Reign Fire's offense coordinator in 1995, and the Baltimore Ravens quarterback coach from 1996 to 1999. Serving as the director of football operations, Strock consulted with Don Shula and the community leaders on how to best go about creating the football program. More than 8 months later, on May 17, 2000, the Florida Board of Regents approved the establishment of a Division I AA football program at FIU. It began competition in 2002. Maidque spoke on the move saying, "For years I attended Chamber of Commerce meetings, Board of Director events, and university functions, and more than any other question, I was asked, when will we be able to cheer for an FIU football program? I was very pleased when I finally was able to answer that question with an actual date." Immediately after the Board of Regents gave the green light to FIU, Strock left the Gainesville meeting, changed into coaching garb in a McDonald's bathroom, and traveled to Kissimmee to see FIU's first recruit and eventual first signee, Poinciana's high school quarterback, David Tabor. Strock would be named the head coach in September of 2000 and led the team's first practice in August of 2001. The team would need to practice on intramural fields during the first year as the on-campus football facilities were being built. The players didn't care as they were just happy to be playing football. The positives continued as the Panthers would beat out the Florida Gators for quarterback Jamie Burke. August 29, 2002 would be the school's first home game as they hosted St. Peter's in front of a sold-out crowd. They would win the game 27-3 to stay undefeated like the original banner read back in '98. Alum Roberto Valcarce explained, "It was an electric and historic night. I mean, how many people can actually say they literally saw the program's birth? I was there." They would finish the year 5-6, beating Butler, Georgetown, Jacksonville, and Albany. They lost to Elon, number 23, Bethune-Cookman, Western Kentucky, number 8, Maine, Gardner-Webb, and to FAU in the inaugural Shula Bowl. 2003 would see the school go 2-10, while in 2004 they finished 3-7. In 2005, both FAU and FIU joined the Sun Belt Conference, moving up to the Division 1A level, and FIU would get their first win in the Shula Bowl with a 52-6 win that would later be vacated. That would be where the positives would end, as in 2006, Miami and FIU would play for the first time in what was supposed to be a crosstown rivalry. With 9 minutes left in the third quarter, Miami's James Bryant pointed at the FIU bench and bowed to the crowd after catching a touchdown pass. Moments later, FIU's Chris Smith wrestled Miami holder Matt Pirelli to the ground and punched him. Marshall McDuffie Jr. kicked Pirelli in the helmet, and things began to escalate as the benches cleared. Several players from both sides appeared to throw punches. Things only got worse, and it would result in 18 players from FIU being suspended and 13 players from Miami being suspended. According to ESPN, FIU lost half its starting lineup through the incident right before playing Alabama. A month later, Strock would resign as head coach. Miami brought in Pete Garcia that October as athletic director. Garcia spoke on Strock's decision, saying, "The role of the founding coach of a university football program is extremely challenging, requires very hard work and dedication. We're grateful for Coach Strock for laying the foundation for our program." He finished with a 15-41 record as head coach. FIU would go on to finish the 2006 season 0-12, but the bleeding would not stop there. In 2008, the NCAA would place FIU on probation for 4 years. They would lose scholarships for a variety of infractions. More than 40 athletes who competed for the school from the 2002 to 2003 through the 2006 to 2007 academic year violated rules. FIU misapplied enrollment and financial aid rules, transfer requirements, and eligibility rules the NCAA found. FIU would admit to the NCAA that they were not ready for the move to the 1A level at the time from a compliance standpoint, but still went through with it. President Maydeque said, "Upon discovering these violations, we put in place new compliance procedures that are much more suited to the university. FIU has become in the last 10 years. We now have the level of staffing and the redundancies that will prevent these types of infractions from occurring again in the future." With the NCAA ruling, Strock's record would fall to 5-41 as head coach. 2007 would see the school hire Mario Cristobal as the second head coach in school history. Cristobal was from Miami, played for Miami, and served as an assistant for Miami and Rutgers. He became the first Cuban-American head football coach at the FBS level and was the second youngest head coach at the level at the time. Garcia spoke on the hire, saying, "Knowing that I was getting a coach that knows football and was regarded as one of the best recruiters in the country and was familiar with the area was actually an easy decision." They'd start the season 0-11, but snapped their 23-game losing streak against North Texas in the season finale to finish 1-11. Their game against North Texas would also be the last game played at the historic Orange Bowl. T.Y. Hilton arrived on campus in 2008 and rewrote the record books. After signing his letter of intent with FIU, Hilton told Cristobal that he would score a touchdown the first time he touched the ball. Sure enough, the first time he touched the ball in competition against Kansas, Hilton returned a punt 74 yards for a touchdown. They'll get their first ever Division 1A non-conference win over Toledo in 2008 and finish the year 5-7. They lost a 57-50 overtime thriller to FAU in the Shula Bowl that year as well. Hilton became the program's first freshman All-American, and the Sports News named Cristobal Coach of the Year. They struggled in 2009 but made their first bowl game in 2010, winning the Little Caesars Bowl. 2011 saw them win the Shula Bowl for the first time and not have the win vacated, and they made it back to a bowl game, finishing with their best record in program history at the time with an 8-5 record. They also beat Louisville to earn their first win over a BCS opponent. Following a 3-9 season in 2012, Cristobal was fired. Garcia received a lot of backlash for the decision but explained, "He's done a very good job for the program. We've gone backwards over the last year and a half. Over the last 22 games, we've gone 8-14. The Miami Herald would call the move an impatient, unfair one. Cristobal finished with a 27-47 record over 6 seasons, but led them to their 2 best seasons in school history a year before he was fired. According to SB Nation's Addict to the Quack, athletic director Pete Garcia and Cristobal had a power struggle behind the scenes. Pretty much, Garcia didn't like the fact that Cristobal was getting a ton of the credit for reviving the football program. Cristobal wanted more commitment from the administration as far as improvements in the facilities and marketing the program. But Garcia didn't want to do those things. FIU would attempt to land Butch Davis, but would instead end up with Ron Turner. Turner would struggle as the Panthers would go 10-30 under him, and he was fired after an 0-4 start in 2016. They would finish the season 4-8, guided by Ron Cooper. Garcia would get his way on November 15, 2016, when he was able to bring in former Miami and North Carolina head coach Butch Davis. Davis would quickly turn the program around, leading them to 3 straight bowl games. They would even beat Miami in 2019 30-24. Following a 1-16 record across 2020 and 2021 and an 0-5 record against FAU, Davis would not have his contract renewed, finishing with the 24-36 record. Mike McIntyre would be hired to replace Davis, but following 3 straight 4-8 seasons, he would be fired. Now, Willie Simmons takes over. Simmons found success at Prairie View A&M, going 21-11, and went 45-13 at Florida A&M, winning the 2023 Celebration Bowl, making it to the FCS playoffs in 2021. He played quarterback at Clemson and has spent time coaching at Clemson, Middle Tennessee, Alcorn, and Duke, besides his 2 head coaching job stops. He will hope to turn this program around and make them a winner. Since the creation of the football team, FIU is 92-178, and their best season was a 9-4 record in 2018. They only have 4 winning seasons in program history as well. FAU football, on the other hand, is 124-158, have won 3 conference titles, been to 5 bowl games, and are now in the American Conference. The Owls' best season came under Lane Kiffin in 2017, when they went 11-3 and won the Conference USA, and 2019 when they finished 11-3 once again. Lane Kiffin showed how successful you could be in 3 years at FAU. Since 2020, the Owls are 22-35, now playing the much tougher conference, while the Panthers are 13-40 since 2020 in the Conference USA. The 2 schools are located less than an hour away from each other, and have basically been viewed as sister schools since their creations a year apart. Up until 2022, the 2 did everything together until FAU received the invite to the American due to the success under Kiffin. Like I said earlier, FAU has dominated the Shula Bowl, going 17-5 over the 22 years. So why has FIU not found any success? Well, a big part of it is the type of school FIU is. FIU is considered a commuter school with only 8% of its students living on campus. As a result, there is no real drive by the administration to fund a ton of money into the athletics, as most commuters don't care. FIU doesn't need to attract as many out-of-state students when compared to FAU. It is much more reliant on out-of-state students, with 22% of their student body living on campus. FIU's administration has not bought into athletics needing to be successful to build their school up. Schnellenberger built a much stronger foundation at FIU than Strocker could at FIU, and FAU's athletic directors have been much better than FIU's. When Jones left FIU, he was vocal about believing the administration was sabotaging the football program. Pitbull Stadium has a capacity of 20,000 seats, but only averages 12,815 fans per home game in 2024, but often looked far emptier. The program looks like it's going to be a tough rebuild as well for Simmons. Following the 2024 season, 11 full-time starters left via the transfer portal, including Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year, Travion Barnes. Yet there could be some hope. Scott Carr was brought in as the athletic director in 2021 after serving as the associate AD at UCF. During his press conference back in 2021, he explained, "So why FIU? It reminds me of UCF in a lot of ways. I see the tremendous potential for growth and success here. It's extremely exciting for me to be here." FIU is looking at the size of the student body being over 58,000, looking at the alumni base of over 260,000, with 80% of those living in the South Florida area. There's just so much untapped potential. When you look at UCF, there's a lot of support from people, and not just within the athletics. And I've seen and heard that here, and I'm excited about how invested people are and are going to be in athletics here. Simmons is committed to turning the program around, telling The Athletic, "The one piece of advice I've taken with me everywhere I've been is you never take a bad job. There are great jobs, good jobs, tough jobs, and bad jobs. I think FIU would fall in the category of a tough job. I don't think it's a bad job. A bad job has no resources, no recruiting base, no tradition. You're set up for failure from the jump. FIU has a lot to sell." Florida A&M suffered through 7 consecutive losing seasons before Simmons arrived, and they went 6-5 in his first season, were 12-1 and ranked in the top 10 in the FCS by the time he left for Duke. Every year, Simmons said he knew he was going to lose players and coaches to the higher levels in college football. He explained, "Power 4 schools aren't immune to the transfer portal. At Duke, we were worried about teams coming in and buying our best players. We won 9 games at Duke. We still worried about our best players being poached by the Ohio State, Alabamas, and Georgias of the world. If you're at Georgia, you worry about it too. in this new climate where the student athletes have the autonomy to leave whenever they choose. We're all dealing with it. The only thing we could do is mitigate it, is to really build a culture where it makes it really difficult for our guys to leave. Carr and Simmons seem committed to building the football program up and raising the money for the new revenue sharing model that has a $20.5 million cap. Carr explained, "For me, I kind of look at it like things are different, but it's the same. What was FIU's biggest challenge 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Money, weight room facilities, etc. Now it's just different forms of money. For us, it's not necessarily sitting back and going, how do we get to the projected $20.5 million revenue sharing cap? What we need to do is figure out how to be the best group of 5 program, win the most games, and to get to the college football playoff." Carr said FIU didn't have booster clubs for its athletic department until August 2022. There are now 400 members in FIU's Panther Club, including 30 gold members, which is a minimum donation of $10,000. In 2023, 4 boosters each donated $500,000 to FIU's athletic department. The Panther Club has operated separately to this point from FIU's NIL collective, Blueprint, which has raised over $500,000 since it began 2 years ago. Having a working NIL collective has helped, but it doesn't prevent many of FIU's best football players from getting poached by Power 4 programs. Quarterback Keon Jenkins and running back Kejon Owens were the only 2 players who entered the portal but returned to FIU. This has all come with FIU struggling the past 3 years. If Simmons can find success at FIU, then the school can easily catch up to FAU, become a prime candidate for realignment down the road. Located in the best recruiting area in the country, but will they be able to find success? That all depends on the administration and the alumni and student buy-in. What do you think? Can FIU turn things around? Let me know in the comment section below. Make sure to check out Bordeaux's College Football 26 rebuild of FIU, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos, YouTube Things You Will Love, right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.